All right, let's carve a hunting dog. Okay, first I'm going to show you, this is going to be the part one of showing you how to carve a hunting dog like Zane here onto a piece of walnut. This happens to be a gun stock, and I'm going to break it up into three parts, and it's going to go from starting out with a pattern on the wood all the way down to the point of finishing, putting a wood finish on it and ready to go. So let's go, and I'll give you kind of a play-by-play, tell you what I'm using. I'm going to be using a pneumatic or an air-driven rotary tool called a power pen, and I'll be showing you and talking about the different burrs I use as I go to different steps. So let's get going. Okay, first you'll see I've got a pattern. There's a pattern right there of the dog that I'm going to be doing on this stock. I'm starting out with doing an outline around the pattern, and I'm using what's called a straight-sided carbide bit. Thin, straight sides, got cutting blades all the way up. It's going to be cutting a line, and that's the key to this, is cutting just outside the line all the way through. So I'm going to go through all of that, do the entire outline, and then move on to the next step. I do have this speeded up a little bit so we can get through it a little bit quicker, but there's the bit you can see. That's what I'm using. It's about 1/16 of an inch in diameter, so it's very tiny. That power pen turns at about 250,000 RPM, so it's like going like a hot knife going through butter. There's really no, you don't have to put a lot of pressure on it when you're going through the wood. Just let it cut. As you can see, I'm going to outside of the line. You don't want to be cutting the exact line, because when you're done, that makes everything much thinner. For example, on the tail there, if you cut the line, all of a sudden the tail's going to be real thin, and you don't want that. You want it to look natural, and that's what we're going for here. Same thing around the details around the head. When I'm cutting right there in the area around the ear, I'm not cutting very deep. I'm just making marks on the wood. The only deep cuts are cutting the outline. The other cuts that I make in the body and around the ear and maybe around the head, wherever muscle marks, I'm just doing an indication on the wood so I can know where that is. The only deep cuts are around the outline. These cuts are trying to be as straight, 90 degrees straight down into the wood as possible. I've moved on to what's called a football burr. It's what you use to round all the edges. Now I'm working on the inside of the line, rounding the edge over, making all the back, the leg, everything. Putting roundness to it. You know, carving, you want to make it lifelike. It's going to be some roundness. You're going to be using it to take certain areas out. It's what you use. You're trying to give depth. For example, the back leg, you want the back leg to look like it's farther back than that foreleg that's up in the air. You want the one leg, the back leg, to be different, farther back than the foreleg. What you just saw there, using another football burr, but this is a small ball burr, about half the size, so you can get a little more detail in some of the smaller, thinner areas. Still the same diamond football. The burrs are impregnated with diamond dust, so they really cut through very well. And they give you a nice smooth surface when they're going through the wood when you're rounding things over. A little bit off center there, sorry about that. You see I'm doing it on both sides of the legs, trying to make that leg rounded. And there's the basic shape. So now we're going to move on to the next area, or I should say the next part. So stay tuned for part 2, and we'll move on to the shaping of the muscles and getting it all ready for the next steps. See you in part 2. This is Lance. Have a good day.